Welcome to Throw Off the Lines, the podcast where we navigate life's changes, explore new horizons, and embrace the journey. I'm your host, Stephanie York, an executive coach with a passion for charting new courses on the water and in life. Ready for some total change? Let's dive in. Welcome back. And today's topic is a topic very near and dear to my heart, and something I've been researching about myself for a little while now, which is, how did I get where I am right now? Because I've got a life full of joy and health and opportunity, and sure, there's a lot of stuff I don't have answers to, and sure, there's a lot of stuff in my life that I'm nervous about, and that isn't maybe what I want it to be, but I'm finding a way to be full of joy and hope every day anyways, and when I can't find it, I go in search of it, and I do my things, I journal, I do mindfulness. But this topic is so important to me, resilience, because my master's program, learning about organizational leadership, we talk a lot about, or studied a lot about, leadership traits. What are innate? Because you often say, this person was born a leader, or that person is such a good leader and such a natural leader. And there's a great famous business book called Good to Great. And it talked about leaders that came up through organizations when they needed them the most. And these people were not flashy. They weren't like some of the megalomaniacs we know who are leading companies right now. And they instead were quietly, calmly leading giant companies through incredible change. And when we study traits, one of the ones we studied was resilience and how that is a teachable trait. And we could go on and on about it. There are books about it. There's actually a guy who says he's the resilience coach, and that's great. Resilience should be a part of any coaching program. If you're in executive coaching, or half of all coaching should be life coaching. So if you're executive coaching, it's focused on your business and your money and on your development. So there's a big component of changing your behaviors, your belief systems, and teaching you how to continue to grow and change. That's what an executive coach should be doing. So when we talk about resilience, it means being able to cope with tough events. The actual definition of resilience is that you are in some way managing the difficult moments. But I'll get to the actual definition I pulled off the web, of course, is the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. Toughness. That is a true, pure definition of resilience. It's also the ability of a substance or an object to spring back into shape. So elasticity. And I love that. I want to do a whole podcast on elasticity of the brain, because I feel like I'm living proof that when tough things happen, you can bounce back, and your brain can definitely bounce back. And elasticity is one of those terms that I just love, because it shows that you can stretch something, but it pulls back. And if I'm pushed beyond my physical limits and I am exhausted because I worked really hard, or I worked out, and then I'm racing on a boat on the ocean, and I got to get up one more time and change a sail, and I got to get up one more time and I'm cold, and I got to get up and I've got to get something to eat. I've got to feed my body, and we're 12 hours in and the sun has gone down and the waves are big. It's that ability to spring back that I've built in, the resilience to overcome the challenges on the water. Now, that's an immediate physical resilience, but I wouldn't have had that if I hadn't trained prior. So resilience is, I feel, a great topic. I've had some amazing interactions with people listening to the podcast. Again, sent me vision boards, best days, manifestation lists. I've had some people send me their SMART goals, and I've helped them I've just kind of adjusted a couple and said, hey, this might give you more clarity. I've been working with my clients on some resilience, because I'm finding when people are bumping up against habits, which is another podcast, which is something I'm coaching extensively on. When I do fly out and do my speaking engagements to teams, it is frequently about habit formation and the fact that Atomic Habits is a great book, but a book is only a book unless it's implemented. So anyways, I don't want to get too far off my topic of resilience, because right now this is just going to be about life. And then I could do another one about professional resilience. So Let's talk about the topic at hand. When something bad happens, you still feel angry and grief and you feel pain. That's not going to go away. And building resilience is not going to help you escape anger, grief, pain. Those are things that are real and tangible, and you have to go through them. We're not going to erase that. You're not, this is building resilience is not a happy pill. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for a happy pill, it's not here, but you're able to keep going both physically and psychologically when you build resilience despite anger, grief, and pain. And resilience isn't about putting up with something really tough or coping on your own. In fact, it's often being able to reach out to others for support because that is another component of resilience. So at the end of the podcast, I'm going to go over some ways that you can build resilience in your own life. You can make out a list and you can say, I'm doing okay now, but man, I had a tough year last year, or I had a tough 6 months, or I'm in the middle of something right now that is causing me a lot of grief, a lot of pain I'm not able to move off of. It's either a very personal thing, you're having a struggle with a boss, which I get a lot. You're having struggles with people promising you things and not coming through with them. And a lot of stuff can be very paralyzing. But every day you can work on resilience, even if you're in a situation that is not of your own making or that you feel paralyzed by, because this is all internal work and this can all be applied to any situation you have in your life. And this is stuff that you can do regardless of your situation. So I know I did a podcast on effort. I strongly recommend that you go back and listen to it because part of building resilience is welcoming a challenge because the only constant is change. I always love that because there is a lot of change. And I personally enjoy change. I find change invigorating. I think I've had it all my life. I haven't had a whole lot of stability and staying in one place. But if you want to listen to the podcast on effort, it can help you overcome hard times and stuck situations. If I'm paralyzed by fear or indecision, then I am stuck. If I can do one thing to move off that spot I'm stuck in, then I've built a small bit of resilience and I'm making a change. And hopefully, these steps in this podcast can help you do that. And each time you do more, you can feel yourself growing and changing and becoming more resilient. So, I guess I'm saying trust me in this, but I think you could probably look back in your life at any time you had a challenge, even when you were a little kid, because I have a lot of people revisiting that time in their life that they felt the most solid. And I've been really clear about mine. It was between the ages of 17 and 20, where I felt I knew myself the best. I was the purest form of me, and I was the strongest and freshest eyes on the world and launching myself out there. And everything I'm doing is to get back to that more pure form of me and shed the layers that I've gotten since then. So sometimes when you are trying to make changes, and I've talked about this in my imposter syndrome episode, trying to be resilient you can do in spite of an imposter syndrome. So you may have a speech coming up, or you may have to ask for a raise. You may have to ask your spouse to make some changes for a better life. There's some things that you're seeing that you want to work on in your relationship, or you want a better relationship with your child, or you I don't know, you want to get in better shape and you want to lose weight. It's everything. But you don't feel like an athlete. You don't feel like a healthy person in a relationship. That's imposter syndrome. Go listen to that podcast. What this podcast can do for you is help you make small changes inside yourself to toughen up and feel stronger so that later on you can overcome any imposter syndrome situation you may find yourself in. So it can be scary. It does take effort to be resilient, but change is inevitable. So you might as well start working on some resilience for that change. And it is something you can do for yourself today, right now. And we can jump into that. It'll make you see challenges in a new light. They're opportunities and not to be avoided because when you avoid challenges, you're not living the best life. I think the pandemic was a perfect example of people not facing challenges and being mired in, some people really grew and changed. Some people reverted back to bad behaviors. And by learning resilience, you can say, oh, wow, I was doing that, but I'm not going to do that anymore. Or I want to make these changes. I want to grow my life. I want to leave a better, more purpose driven life. In each challenge is the birth of your new life, a new level to hit, and possibly even better things. So, I do want to drop in a manifestation minute. I am manifesting for myself getting my book written. I'm writing a book right now and I am really stuck. So, I'm putting it out there. I am bearing my goals and my manifestations, and I want to throw it in here for a second because I feel like if I say it out loud, I'll share it with all of you. And I am on chapter 1. Again, I have like 15 books started. So let's jump into some of the steps that you can take to build resilience in your life. Embrace change. And I know this sounds really hard, but I talked about this earlier. I believe the true essence of resilience is viewing change as opportunity to learn and grow. Now, I'm not talking about the changes that are life altering. Loss of a loved one is that is not something that you can embrace as an opportunity right away. You've got to go through the process, and that is not this podcast. If you see the end of your career, maybe you're coming into retirement, where a lot of the people I know in my phase in life and that are a little bit older than me struggled with retirement coming up. Well, we know retirement's going to happen, and we know, you're going to make that change or your company is going to force you into it. So why not look at this as an opportunity to learn and grow? So many people I talk to find that they're busier than they ever were after they retire. And I've got to say that people get so tied to their jobs in this life, in this world, that it's fearful to look at retirement. And I'm saying if you are my age and looking at this big life change, let's prepare for it. Growing up, I had a lot of things out of my control. I would raise and break and love a horse, and that horse would be taken away from me and sold to somebody for money. And I didn't have choice over that. And would I stop riding? And would I stop training horses? And would I stop loving it? But would I go on to the next horse and try to change that horse's world and train that horse and get out and race them? And I did barrel racing and stuff. Yeah, horses and animals and pets, they teach us a lot about change because their lifespans are often so short. If you know that you have to embrace change in your life, it can be a flood that washes through your life and it can overwhelm you, or you can adapt and get on board and not be swept away by it, but embrace it. So when I know a change is coming up, like I am definitely going to be doing some traveling in the new year, I'm very excited about it. It's traveling I'm choosing to do. But I talk to women on an online forum that I'm a part of, and they have an event coming up that they're worried about. They have social anxiety. They've stopped drinking, maybe, and they're worried there's drinking there. They know that there's going to be conflict with a family member. And we talk about, well, maybe you'll meet somebody that is your new best friend there. Maybe if you are challenging yourself to not drink at an event, maybe you'll go and get a non alcoholic drink and go to the event and really be able to see people and stand alone and be proud and experience that change and embrace it and find a new path and then see, wow, I feel really good about being at this event. I'm not anxious now because I'm not drinking. And I find that when you embrace change and look at a future event and really think about how you could embrace how you look at it differently, you can write the narrative ahead of time. And it doesn't always match, but it's way better than jumping into it anxious and fearful or not going at all. That's not good. So, next is find purpose. Okay, so I've got a podcast, part 1, part 2, about my self finding purpose. Understand the impact you want to have on the world, whether you're still working a job, whether you're about to retire, whether you want to get out on a sailboat and sail around the world. A lot of people on sailboats go into harbors and marinas and they become involved in charities and they find purpose in that. One of my friends down in Mexico runs spay and neuter clinics. And some of these small villages in Mexico were overrun with animals, and nobody was addressing the animal population, and the animals were suffering horribly. And through her spay and neuter clinic agenda and helping the local community embrace that and helping doctors set it up, and now it's constantly happening, you could visibly see a reduction in animals on the street. And the streets got cleaner and the people understood how to take care of their pets. And it was really heartwarming. So here's somebody who found something to do. So instead of going and trying to set up that clinic, you can go and find organizations anywhere you are when you're sailing around the world that need help and support. You can rally other people in your community, other people on sailboats, and you can go and then give money and donate time and bring awareness to those organizations anywhere in the world. But find purpose. How can I do what I'm doing? If you, let's see, you want to plant trees in your neighborhood, you want to start a park, you want to start a cleanup day, do a coastal cleanup if you live on the beach. If you have a community park, go down and gather fellow citizens, put a meetup group together, and get your local 4 H club. I was in 4 H for 8 years, and get them to come and do a community cleanup. People complain about their open spaces being overrun or dirty, or there's drugs and there's people, and we can take back these spaces. Find a purpose in your life. It will help you build resilience. When you have purpose, the tougher things, the daily things, well, my knee hurts today. Well, you know what? It hurts. I'm going to get up and I'm going to move because I've got 15 kids from 4-H showing up at that park today, and we're going to go clean up trash. So purpose will pull you through. And in my purpose podcast, I talk about ways that I found purpose, and I can give you a list of things to do to find more purpose in your life. And I know sometimes the podcast gives you a lot to focus on, and I apologize. I have a frog in my throat. And chip away at these things. I don't expect you to be resilient today, but I'm hoping that by following this podcast that you're able to slowly but surely figure out ways to have more purpose in your life. So, establish goals is another way to find resilience in your life. And I'm very goal oriented, and I have been my whole life. I think it's the way I survived my youth. My father and mother split early on, and I had horses to take care of, and I was the person who woke the whole house up. I took on the role of caretaker for my family. My mom wasn't well, and I got up, and my brother and I would go out and take care of the horses. It could be -20 out. We had to get out there and thaw out their water, carry buckets of hot water out, buckets of cold water to chill the hot water, feed them, come back in, get the little brothers up, you know, find whatever food was there. Sometimes there wasn't food. I guess that's a true motivator. And get on the bus in blinding snowstorms. They did not have school off those days in Ohio, and right up on Lake Erie. And if I didn't have a goal, if I didn't strive to go and try to be engaged in school and try to find a life and try to have friends, I don't know how I would have gotten through some of the dark times when it's cold. And I could go into that further, but goal-oriented person, and I want you to be a goal-oriented person. And it doesn't mean you got to be driven like an A-type personality. It can be the quiet person in the back of the room who says, you know what? I want to learn to create sculptures. I have in my heart a desire to make terracotta sculptures that could then be cast into sculptures. And I want to make clay pots. I want to solder art. I want to make paintings. I want to go down to the animal shelter and volunteer 20 hours a week. I'm going to create a goal to go introduce myself to the shelter, find out what hours they need volunteers, show up, walk the dogs, help socialize them so they're more easily adopted. And you built a goal, and it's such a quiet goal. It's your goal. It's I'm going to go do this because it'll make me feel better, and it's something I can do. And it's so freeing to say, here's the steps I can take to do this thing. And it gives you purpose. And when you have those goals, tomorrow you might wake up and have a tummy ache. But you know what? You said you were going to go volunteer at the shelter and you were going to help walk dogs. And you know what? You do what you have to do to get rid of that bellyache, and you go and you get the help over to the shelter, and you help those animals who can't help themselves. I think it's really, really important to build goals. Maybe I'll do a podcast on a vision board. We all know vision board. If you don't, there's tons of YouTube videos, all this stuff I'm talking about. There's tons of YouTube videos out there for you to listen to. But, go back through this podcast and it'll be in the show notes, the different steps that you can do to build resilience. Another one that's a really big deal, and you have to listen to my podcast about making friends, is build connections. Prioritize your relationships, the ones you have currently that you want to keep, and reach out to others. When building connections, look at the relationships that are taking up your time that are not true connections. That's the hardest thing I found when I'm coaching clients and when I'm talking to friends and in my own life. What connections did I have that were not reaching back out to me? Who was I giving my energy to that was not giving energy back to me? And there were a lot of people in my life because I had undermining fear of loss of friendships and that I wasn't valuable enough. And I would give a lot of myself to people, hoping that they would want to give back to me. And it was very unhealthy. And it's not good for the other people. They see it in you. They don't want to be around somebody who's so needy and giving so much that it wasn't asked for. So build connections with people who want to build connections with you. And again, listen to my Making Friends podcast. And it's not as easy as I'm going to have 10 friends, really close relationships. You have to put in time and effort and you have to sort out who's going to be worth that. And then reach out to others. Make a list of who your top 10 connections are: family members, friends. A lot of us have Facebook and we have a lot of people on Facebook. I've reached out to people in my past. I want to have better relationships with them, but I right now don't have a lot of stability. I'm traveling around a lot and I've got good friends I'm making right now that are local, but I'm about to leave for 5 or 6 months and I don't want to let my connections down. I'm letting them all know I'm not going to be here for 5 or 6 months, but when I come back, I want to build that relationship. I want better relationships with people who like me as much as I like them, because I immediately like people. It's a fault, but I'm going to consider it a gift. As soon as I meet somebody, I see the good in them. I probably give them attributes they don't actually have, and I'm getting better at that. But go out and get some connections. Make a list of people that you have a connection with. Start to reach out, write them handwritten note cards, send them a text, give them a call, meet for coffee, practice those relationships. Another thing for resilience, and this is huge, it has been huge for me, and it's amazing for my clients because they're actually doing it, which is practice mindfulness. And be present and aware of your thoughts and your feelings and your surroundings. What's going on around you? What are you feeling right now? What are you thinking right now? You are what you think. And you're often thinking what you're feeling. So if you're feeling down, how can you turn it around? How can you have thoughts that are more progressive? If you have obsessive thoughts, being mindful and aware can help you stop that. Two things that have helped me with my mindfulness, three things actually that help me with my mindfulness, is I go on a digital diet. I only have 10 minutes of social media a day. If I have to post something about the podcast, I'll do it on my computer. I won't do it on my phone. And I put in a alarm, like a timer on my phone that I set up. It's iPhone. You can easily do that. And I only allow myself 10 minutes on my social media apps and then they go dark. And if I have something I have to respond to, or I'm trying to follow someone who's posting a lot, like we just had a huge hurricane, two hurricanes in Florida, and I have somebody I follow for weather that I also follow for international sailboat races. He's an amazing weather person, and he'll report on weather around the world. And if I was ever going to buy weather from somebody, this is the person, because when you're doing international sailing from like New Zealand to Fiji that I just did, you need to have really good weather reports. And there's people who are gifted at this thing. So I want to follow him on Facebook. I'm going to delete my limit on Facebook that day. But what it's made me aware of is how much my digital relationship is with my phone. And I've taken my phone time. Now it's on all the time and I use it for tracking my steps, which a lot of people do. And I no longer wear my iWatch. I say, if you're going to track your steps, get a digital step counter. because those are not attached to your phone. You don't need your phone. You put it on your wrist. You can buy them for $16 on Amazon and track your steps that way. Write them down, put them in a note, put them in your calendar, and then you're not attached to your phone. Your phone is using you as much as you feel like you're using it. It's tracking everything about you. And I really want to be more mindful. And when I'm being sucked into my phone, I am no longer present. So I try to turn my phone off hours a day. I try to put my phone down. I leave it behind. I don't take it for walks anymore. If I'm going for an hour-long walk to get some exercise or a hike, I'll bring it along for music on Spotify or podcasts, which I love to listen to podcasts. But I try to leave the phone behind. That's one big thing, a digital diet. And maybe I'll do a podcast on a digital diet. So, practicing mindfulness is also journaling. And this sounds the opposite because you're so sucked into, I'm going to dump everything in there. But a lot of my clients, when we start coaching, whether they're an executive running a 500-person company, which often need the most support in these habit formations, or it's somebody who's running their own P&L, working under somebody else, and they're trying to grow to a level that they can break out on their own. And it's a very scary time. They're very worried about going on their own, being their own boss. And that transition can be really difficult, especially for people who are really good at processes. Letting go and being independent is overwhelming. So, journaling is really important to make big lateral moves in your life and to get control of your thought processes and to break habits. Why? Journaling tells your busy, busy brain, I captured that. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to make that appointment tomorrow or if you're going to send those emails and worry about things that are happening or haven't happened because you put it all down on paper. It's in there and it eases your brain. And your brain gets to say, oh, okay, it's been captured. I especially love journaling at night when you've got all this stuff. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Oh, did I pay those bills? Did I do this? Did I do that? And instead, you've got it all written down on paper at the end of the night. And you say, tomorrow I'm going to do this, this, this. Tomorrow I'm going to do that, that, that. And now you can go to sleep and you're more mindful of your moment. You're more mindful of your patience. The number one thing to do for mindfulness is meditate. And I am not kidding. My clients have been doing this and they have altered their relationship with their life, altered it measurably. Over 6 months, I had one man who, when I met him, he was gray and he was overwhelmed and he had 15 sheets of paper where he was transferring lists back and forth and back and forth, and he wasn't capturing information and he wasn't keeping up on his digital note taking, and he didn't have anything organized, and he was overwhelmed and stressed and not sleeping, and he drank, I believe, 8 cups of coffee a day, and he just looked like he was not well. And I immediately said, we've got to get this under control and we've got to help you get your life back. So, what he did is he followed my instructions. I often tell people, don't have feelings about this. Let's jump in. Trust that these things are going to take time, but trust that they're going to work. And we started him on the Balance app, which is my favorite. And he started putting in 5 minutes a day of meditation. And he just did it. And your brain is going to fight you. Your brain is used to the adrenal gland just pushing out all these chemicals. And you're used to being overwhelmed. And you're used to fight or flight. And you're used to the drama and the stress and the hormones that come with it. We're addicted to that. And I'm going to do a podcast on habits because that's one of the major things I talk about when I'm training my executives and when I go in for training sessions at corporations. So I want to get past this because mindfulness is so important. Trust me, journaling and meditating, going somewhere, sitting still for 5 minutes, just focusing on your breath, it teaches your brain to calm down. What that does is when a change or a challenge shows up, you've already taught your brain that it can control itself. It's not going to get overwhelmed. If you move into 10 and then 15 minutes of meditating, which is deep breathing, it calms your stress levels down And it is probably the number one thing I use for resilience. When I'm out on the ocean and I'm at watch and my captain is down below, and trusting that I'm going to allow her to have the sleep she needs to come up and be her full self and to make those decisions that can be life-changing for us on the boat in the middle of huge seas and huge wind. I know that I need to be present. I need to be mindful, and meditation has been a huge help in that. So let's move to the next one. Reduce stress. Low to moderate levels of stress can help you rebuild resilience and build it and become, and I'm going to tell you again, meditating. Or even if you don't have time for meditating, take 10 deep breaths. Breathe in, hold it at the top for a count of 3, and breathe out. Feel the air go in and then feel the stress go out. Do it 10 times. Sit in your car before a meeting. Go into a bathroom. If you are trying to not drink at a social event, go into the bathroom. Do 10 deep breathing exercises and say, I've got this. I'm present. I've made a plan. I have a goal. I have a non-alcoholic drink in my hand. I'm going to go into this party and I'm just going to watch other people's behaviors. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to listen to the music. I'm going to be present. I'm going to go into this meeting and I'm going to ask for a raise and I'm going to do 10 deep breaths. I deserve this raise. Here's why I do. And I'm going to take a shot at it. I've got to get up there on board up and take my watch, and I'm cold and I don't want to do it, but it's my turn. I signed on for this and they're looking at me to do my share. 10 deep breaths, get those cold clothes on, get yourself a cup of coffee, get some chewing gum, maybe a Hidden Valley granola bar, and get your butt up there. It's your turn. Reduce the stress when you can. Let go of things that are not your problem. I'm going to do a podcast on the 3 questions rule. It has been a huge game changer for a lot of my clients. I know this podcast is running on, but resilience is such a huge topic. Anyways, quick. Seek help. Please, please, please. When you need help with something that you don't know how to do or that you need to do and you're stuck, ask for help. There are people out there like myself who want to help you. I had a friend who was going through cancer treatment and her friends kind of abandoned her because people are afraid of the C word. They're afraid of you asking for help, or they're afraid they don't know what to say. That's going to be more podcasts I'm going to cover on how to support friends going through tough times. And she needed food. She just needed somebody to make her dinners. She needed to have food that was available that she could eat, that she would want to eat. And her taste was changing. And so I made her food and I brought it. Actually, it was in Mexico and I had to take 2 buses with a casserole. And you know what? It's what you do. She needed help. She reached out and I did it for her. If you're going through a hard time, that's where those connections come in. With those connections, you can reach out to people that can help you. If you are struggling with community because you've got a big change happening or you lost someone, reach out to somebody. Reach out and seek help. If you have a broken down refrigerator, seek help. If you want to learn how to get in shape, my mom just had sciatic nerve pain and she went to a doctor and she was getting some suggestions, but it wasn't helping that much. And I showed her where there are online YouTube videos by these guys, Bob and Brad, the most famous physical therapists on the internet. I love those guys. And you go out there and you find assistance. I needed help with bone spurs in my shoulders before I did the race to Alaska. They wanted to go in, operate, and shave the bone spurs down. Well, you know what? I went online and I found orthopedic surgeons that gave me exercises and I strength trained. And to this day, I have not had that surgery and I don't need it. I worked on my body and I changed it. I sought help and I became resilient. And I did the race to Alaska and the bone spurs didn't hurt me. And I'm going to do a podcast about preparation for big, big goals. And now take care of yourself. Another way to be resilient, and this goes into some of my other podcasts on health and diet, take care of yourself. Get enough sleep. I cannot reiterate how important getting good sleep is. And I've got to say, I'm going to do a podcast about the fight and the struggle I've had with getting sleep. I always said if I had a superpower, it would be to sleep better. I know I'd like to fly. I know I'd like to do a lot of things, but honestly, the first thing would be to get good sleep. My superpower would be sleep. So getting sleep, eating healthy. If you know you need to get more vegetables in your diet, but you're just not doing it, go get a green powder that you can tolerate. That's going to get you a day's serving of vegetables. And people say, oh, it's $40 for this big canister of green powder. Well, when I take a green powder, and I have one that I love, it helps my body heal. It helps me sleep better. My guy I was coaching, take care of yourself. Stop drinking 8 cups of coffee a day. It's killing you. You look gray. So we started to introduce different liquids in the afternoon. We switched him to green tea. We started getting bubble waters. We started getting drops for him to put into his water. We started getting like airborne tablets that fizz up in his water. So he's not only getting an immune boost, but he's also getting more liquid in his body that is not coffee. We've got him down to 2 cups of coffee now, and they're all before 10 a.m. And after that, he doesn't drink coffee anymore, and he doesn't need it. He thought he needed it, and he's sleeping better, and he is happier, he is healthier, and he has doubled his business. So taking care of yourself takes care of your life. Eat healthier, watch after yourself, lower your stress. All of this goes hand in hand. And I feel like that's another podcast. Now, maintain perspective, maintain a hopeful outlook, and accept that change and setbacks are a part of life. All this stuff sounds really fluffy, but a journal and a gratitude journal on top of that. You can have a journal where you dump all your problems. You can have a separate journal that is just what you are thankful for, what you are hopeful for. Just list 3 things. When I was getting my master's, we had an exercise in my positive psychology class, and it was 3 good things. I cannot tell you how much that changed my life. If you go at the end of your day and you have to write down 3 good things that happened to you that day, it's a different form of gratitude. At first, I got really kind of, I don't want to do this. I'd be like, I had a good cup of coffee. The sun shined. And after I got over my cynicism, which, yeah, it rears its ugly head once in a while, I said, you know what? I did notice that I was happy about a song that came on. And then what happened within 2 days of me doing this exercise, because I had to keep track of it for the class and submit it as homework, I realized by the third day, I was looking for good things in my life. And wow, did it change things. So try the 3 good things exercise. Try a gratitude journal. You will start to see a different perspective. You'll start to see a shift in your mindset. And then, develop problem solving skills. That's another really high level podcast, I'm sure. Problem solving skills are something that we all can work on. List out those things in your life that you want to work on, and then create one action for each of them. I want a cleaner countertop in my kitchen. I just recently went to my brother's and I was cooking some stuff over there because I love to cook. And they are really busy, the 2 of them, him and his wife. And they had a bunch of stuff on their counter. It was making it hard for me to cook. And I said, why do you have this stuff here? And he said, oh, well, we wanted to remember to do something with it. And what about this stuff here? And when we looked at it, he realized a lot of this stuff, he meant to clean it up, but just going through his day and working really hard, and she was working 2 jobs, they never got around to making decisions about the things, and more things got added to it. And we started to clean off the counter, and I had more room to make a lasagna. And he said, I really wanted to do that. I'm going to do more of that. And my thing is, problem solving, I want to clean out my closet. Well, don't feel like you have to do it all in one day because that's a daunting task. There's emotions attached to a lot of this stuff. You know what? Pick one small section and pull everything out and make a decision. Have I worn this in the last 2 years? No. Am I going to wear this? Is this a part of an outfit I wore 10 years ago? Because at my age, I got stuff I wore 10 years ago. I'm not going to wear those jeans again. I'm not going to wear that tight skirt again. I'm just not. And I shouldn't, because I'm really into more comfort. I'm getting into my old lady clothes. Comfort is key. So problem solving can happen little by little. You don't have to have all the answers, but do take one action on one thing that you want to change. And then learn more effective ways to manage stress. When you go and do something that's purpose driven, you go down to the animal shelter, or you go out and you plant a tree, or you go hiking with a group of new connections, new friends you met on Meetup, or you meet a friend for dinner and you just hang out and you talk, or you make a decision to take better care of yourself. Every time you do these things, you are building resilience for change that's coming up. When you take care of that internal stuff and the changes come at you, whether they're good or bad, you can find purpose and find hope and find joy and gratitude even when life hands you changes. So, resilience is a really, really important skill. I hope you were able to take notes on this, and it can help you build grit and tenacity and motivation. When you're more resilient, you can start to enjoy the effort that you have to make when change comes along, and you start to see, hey, I started a yoga class and I feel so good about the changes I'm making in my body. I'm going to eat better, and I'm eating better and I feel better, and I'm able to go do that hike with my friends without a lot of pain. And you know what? I'm going to go start dog walking, and I'm going to join rover.com and do a side business where I babysit pets. I can't have a pet of my own, or I don't have a pet of my own. I'm going to have people pay me to watch their pets. Wow, now all of a sudden I've got animals in my life. I'm out walking. I feel better. I'm eating better. And you know what? I catch a cold. That cold doesn't take me down for a month now. That cold takes me down for 5 days, and I bounce back from it better because I am more resilient. I am happier and I'm healthier and I've got purpose and goals. And you need to build a stronger mind and body and spirit to grow your resilience. And you can start today with even the smallest thing. And, sit quietly for 2 minutes if you can't meditate for 5. 2 minutes is good. It's a start. Eat an apple, make a salad, sit on the floor or your bed and stretch, drink more water, plan a class to teach you how to write, or anything is a step forward. Everything works towards being resilient. And then you can handle that change that is inevitable. So I hope this podcast, it's really long. I hope it's helped. If you have a change you're trying to work on and you want to throw me a question, throw me a line, go on to throwoffthelines.com and shoot me a message. And feel free to post on my Facebook page or send me a message on Facebook. I've got Throw Off the Lines on. Go to the website. It's got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're on YouTube. And I hope in some way this might help you even a little bit build that resilience so that you can handle change in your life and that you can lead a much happier life and be more hopeful. And I'm just wishing you a total day. All right, take care. I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you for joining me on Throw Off the Lines. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe for future episodes and extras, and leave a review, share it with someone who needs a total inspiration. You can also find us on Facebook or Instagram and our Throw Off the Lines website. If you want to be a guest or have questions for the host, sign up on the website and we'll get back to you. Until next time, throw off those lines and live your best life.